will 2020 census data be used? Where there are more people, there are more needs for public services. That's why the census is used by the government to inform funding decisions each year. But that's not all. It's also used by nonprofits to inform services, by businesses to create jobs, and even by students for school projects. Understanding how the population changes helps us shape communities across the country for the better. Shape your future. Start here. Visit 2020census.gov.
How does the 2020 census affect representation? There are 435 seats in the House of Representatives. These get distributed to the 50 states by population, and an accurate census response helps your state get the right amount of seats. States with smaller populations get at least one, while states with larger populations might get more. Shape your future. Start here. Visit 2020census.gov.
Live. Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising. Peace, peace, peace. Sorry for the delay. Just going to add a couple of upgrades to the show, so trying to make sure everything is all right. How's the panel? How's everyone this rising?
I feel good. I guess Gabrielle doesn't feel good, but I'm good. I feel all right. Shout out to the chat. Gabrielle's just gonna be silent. Oh, her computer, I forgot. She still got 33
Okay, I was
windows
talking
open.
the whole time. Okay, so yes, I feel good. I really do.
That
And
ain't
shout
how
out to
it
the
goes.
chat. I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
She's coming.
Oh my goodness. I was on mute. Okay. Clicking too fast.
A mutant without TMH. I guess he's master shredder since he got all these mutants walking around.
Okay, so wait, can you see my screen?
Yes. The whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, even though you were on mute, your screen wasn't.
Oh. Wait.
And I'm definitely
What's
not gonna
happening
read.
now?
I'm not gonna read from your screen because you like to have the cursor and the screen bouncing around when I ain't even ready.
I know not what you speak of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what's happening right now.
Ew, is it?
No, it's good now.
Okay.
I'm going to start these shout outs. Grand Rising, Power to 9, Phoenix Rose, Celestial Love, Big Nelsa. Let's check the other one. Grand Rising, Tiny Ofofo, Brandon 3, Nature's Void. I don't know if that's current. And that's all the ones I see right now. And as usual, as we see them come in the room, we will acknowledge them. And we finna get right into it, to the first one. Let me bring it up on the screen so everyone can see.
So what's the subject matter we're getting into on this fine Friday rising?
What's the subject?
I thought it was on mute.
Well, right now, it's are you asking the right genealogy research questions?
So the subject matter is genealogy?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure.
genealogy is key. We got to do that.
No, I think I heard you say that before.
I mean, how will we know? And you know what? I thought about it. I was reading an article, and it was talking about how some people go searching for specifically one thing or the other, whatever it may be, and find out they wind up finding something totally different. And then I reflected on myself, like I went to do my genealogy to just find, okay, I'm going to find Africa, and I'm going to find English, Europe, specifically English, because that was at the time my perception, if that makes sense. And I found something completely different than that. Like I was looking for Africa and was like, oh, I'm already home.
What's these?
Right. So it's yeah, genealogy is key because your perspective changes, your understanding changes, and I definitely know mine did, because I didn't have to leave the United States or North America or the Americas.
Sometimes you feel like a mutt. Sometimes,
sometimes you don't.
I mean, we're talking genealogy today.
I know, I get it. Oh, I get it. Is you confused or no?
Is you happy?
Clap your hands. Okay. So we're reading this one first.
Yeah, Bones, you have them posted up? Okay.
Posting them in the chat right now.
Got it. When you open up the link, look to your neighbor and say, I love it. And I love it.
Are you asking the right genealogy research question? Tracing your family history and discovering interesting stories about your ancestors is an exciting way to maintain a rich connection to the past. But tracking down your relatives and finding the evidence you need is not always an easy task. Searching the many records available on the internet has become so easy that it can be tempting to simply plug in a name and date and then begin browsing through records. But this unfocused approach can cause you to feel overwhelmed and is not the best approach to finding out accurate information about your family. An unfocused search is less likely to find the information you need, and even worse, it can lead you down a wrong research path based on incorrect information. Genealogy is a skill and requires a solid foundation. Similar to scientific method, if you follow the appropriate genealogy research steps and best practices, you'll be much more successful, and your findings will be more likely to be your true ancestors. Thinking carefully about your research questions is the perfect place for a beginner to start before searching. If you just recently interviewed your relatives at a family gathering, the next step is to formulate your first research question. Even intermediate and advanced genealogists can benefit from reflecting on the research questions they have been asking to ensure no bad habits are being performed. What is a research question and why is it important? Research questions should be specific. Put simply, a research question forms the basis of your search. Simply ask yourself what information you want to know. Research questions can be general or specific, though the more specific they are, the better. For instance, a general research question could be something like, what was the life of my great-grandmother like? This is an excellent starting question, but think about how it may guide your search. Does this question give us a clear idea of a specific piece of information to seek? Not exactly. We can focus our research even more by generating a more specific research question from the general one. For instance, when and where was my great grandmother born? Or where did my great grandmother live in 1940? A question like this will set you on the best path. And we definitely know we have to factor in. There are a lot of different factors to factor in, especially during a certain time frames.
Since then, factoring.
Mhm. A good research question is achievable and motivating. The primary reason to develop a well thought out research question is that it focuses your research. Genealogy can feel overwhelming. We can all relate to the burning desire to know everything about our ancestors, but clearly nobody is going to find out everything in a single research session. Hmm. When you break up your quest into achievable bits and pieces, it helps you. What is going on? It helps you recognize the progress you're making. Specific research questions are highly answerable. Before you know it, you'll be crossing the question off your list and forming the next one. It's a great feeling. Specific research questions, like the examples above, will focus your search into a much more manageable quest. For instance, if you know you're seeking information on an ancestor's birth, you can safely narrow down your search to only include records that would contain birth information. Or using other examples, if you're looking for a place of residence in 1940, you can confidently search the 1940 census first. Research questions help us help you. A good research question can also help you communicate effectively with other researchers on experts who you would like guidance from. If you're preparing for a research consultation or are looking for help at an experts conference booth, be ready with a specific research question. A good research question can help you get the most out of your professional consultation. Experts and professionals will be far more helpful if they're presented with specific research questions. It's very common for our experts to hear a researcher ask a question like, "Can you help me find my family who lived in New York State in the 1800s?" With such a broad question, it's very difficult for an expert to recommend a place to look or an approach to solving your problem. When asking something more specific, like, "I'm trying to find the birth record of my great grandmother who lived in Erie County in the 1800s, an expert is far more likely to provide useful information. Even if you don't know the location and time period, asking, "I'm looking for my great grandmother's birth record," will be an excellent starting point if you're consulting with an expert. Tips for forming a research question. What do I already know? If you're not even sure what research question you want to ask, the first thing you need to think about is, what do I already know and what's missing? This is also an excellent habit for intermediate and advanced genealogists as well. Organize a beginning of the year audit to get yourself on the right course for 2019. Begin by organizing all the family records you have proof of. If you're just beginning and don't yet have any proof, that's okay too. Create a one-sheet document for each specific family member and detail everything you know about them. If you already have some records related to them, this is where you want to indicate that. Citations will help you remember where information came from and help you locate it again later. If you don't yet have any records, write down anything you can gather from other family members or pieces of information you may have heard in the past. It's okay if they're not backed up by documentary evidence yet. This information will help you form research questions or guide your research question focused searches. What do I want?
Mhm.
Huh?
Are you gonna take a breath?
Yeah, I had to. You got this, or
Oh no! I was just saying. You can just.
what do I want to know or need to prove?
What?
Oh no, you got it. Oh no, you got it.
No, that scared me a little bit.
Now, identify the blank spaces. What you would like to know. What information do you have that needs to be backed up with documentary evidence? A genealogy best practice is to complete as much research as possible on a single family unit or generation before moving on to the next one. Records from one generation will often contain clues to help you find other family members later on, such as the name of a witness, parents, or godparents. Here is where you form your specific research question. It's always a good idea to begin by seeking vital records, birth, marriage, and death records for each individual. Remember, even if you have a general question such as what was the life of my great grandmother, like this can be broken down into finite, achievable questions. Go beyond names and dates. Seeking out records that prove the names, dates, and places associated with the key events in your ancestors' lifetime is a good place to start because this information forms the skeleton of your understanding. But don't leave those bones bare. Genealogy research is based on facts and evidence. Say that again. Genealogy research is based on facts and evidence, but is also rich and colorful. Don't be afraid to ask research questions about what life was like or what their interests were. These can be fun and rewarding questions to answer. For example, an inventory in an ancestor's probate file may tell you that he or she loved to read and had an extensive library. A newspaper might mention a quarrel with a neighbor over a runaway livestock, or religious records can offer a glimpse at our ancestors' personal beliefs and the communities they belong to. Learning more about your relatives' jobs, community, hobby, belief, or interest will make your research more rewarding and your connection to your family history richer. Next steps. It's always a good idea to look it's always a good idea to look to professional genealogy researchers and writers for example of research questions. Take some time to pursue a scholarly genealogical journal. Man, say that 10 times.
Scholarly genealogical journal.
Yeah, say that 10 times real quick.
Nope.
Just record that one and speed it up for me.
Man.
Repitando.
Such as the New York Genealogical and Biographical Record. Man. These journals accept only the highest quality genealogy writing and are excellent examples of the kind of thoroughness of all genealogists should aspire to. No,
Oh,
should
one
aspire
second,
to.
Gabby. One second. I just want to add this in real quick. While we're going through this information, it helps form a plan on going through genealogy, and as well, it's showing you the criteria on how they go about collecting information.
Mm-hmm.
And by us following these same steps, brothers and sisters, this is us to being on that path of setting up our own genealogy society to be able to collect our records, to be able to go to these colleges and institutions and get anthropologists and archaeologists to start going to areas and sites that we want them to start digging in. I mean, the video the other day in Puerto Rico with the DNA and them digging out there, these is how these things are done. If you want certain things researched and investigated, sometimes you have to get up and form the institutions that's going to do the investigation.
Absolutely.
Especially if you saying the other side is keeping your information from you. I mean, We can continue. Just a quick thought I wanted to add in there.
Oh no, that makes sense. I mean, and I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong. A part of me feels like whether the information has been kept from us or kind of put right in front of us, but we look past it, it equates to me to several things. If you don't ask, you won't know. If you don't take the time to put in the work that's needed to put it together, then you won't get help, if that makes sense. I could be wrong. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Can y'all hear me?
Nope.
Don't do that. I thought my computer was freezing. Okay, next steps. It's always a good idea to look to perfect. Did I read that already? Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay. Read the latest issue of the record or search the full archives of the record in our e-library and pay close attention to the kind of research questions the authors of each article ask. You'll see how a good focused research question can help form a research plan, which is the next step in your own process. Once you have formed a research question, it's time to make a research plan. A good research plan involves thinking about more questions such as when and where the event your research question investigates may have occurred, and also what kind of record sets to look in. What kind of record sets to look in? So I guess this is the example. This article from the most recent issue of the record begins with the research question, who are the parents of Abby Newman? Parents for Abby Newman, a pioneer woman of Jefferson County, New York, Cheryl Storton, CG. Abby Newman lived in New York State for over 70 years, more than 40 years in Jefferson County, living apart from her birth family, where she raised her children and ran a farm. No birth record, marriage record, or death certificate has been found for her, and no family legends or family histories link her to her origins. Finding her parents required that the research carefully follow and correlate the subtle clues left by Abby and her children. Abby was born the 26th of August, 1798, and died the 20th of March, 1871. In her lifetime, she created more documents than most women living in the early 1800s. She owned and sold land in her own right. She wrote a will and made requests concerning her burial. Her estate file was extensive and included a large inventory. She married Asa Newman about 1821 to 1822. Between 1821 and 1822, and had 8 children in the 19 years. Abby was named as wife in the land records, but no record of her marriage has been found. So that's the example. Like a good research question, a good research question, a good research plan will wind up saving you a lot of time and frustration and is crucial to successful research. Keep an eye out for a coming blog on this subject. If you have already formed a great research question and are now wondering about formulating your research plan, you may want to schedule a consultation with an NYGNB genealogist to receive personalized expertise on next steps for your own research. About the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society. Since 1869, the NYGNB's mission has been to help our thousands of worldwide members discover their family's New York story, and has never been a better time to join. The cost of an individual, and your membership is less than $6 a month and includes the following benefits: access to over 50 exclusive digital records sets covering the entire state of New York, including the fully searchable archives of the record, a complimentary subscription to all of Find My Past's North American records, as well as UK and Irish census records. Access to hundreds of expert authored knowledge-based articles and webinars to help you navigate the tricky New York research landscape. Exclusive documents and advanced access to conferences, seminars, workshops, and lectures. To learn more about researching people and places across New York State. Okay. To learn more or join us, please visit our members benefits page.
All right. Any thoughts on what we just covered so far?
Yeah.
That sounded like some help to me. Mad tips, mad tips.
Yeah, like
there's some hot links too that Gabrielle was sweating all over the mouse. Not the but I'm on mute.
Yeah, I realized I was screen sharing and had to click back. I was like, you know what? Okay. Shaking in my chair. Shaking in my chair. So this is what I'll say. So yes, when you're with the question, where did my great grandmother live in the 1940s? So when we've pulled up links, and when it comes to genealogy, we've discovered that, you know, there were birth records, taking an understanding and knowing that from the 1940s all the way back going to the 1850, we know that there were birth records that were changed as far as what is it called, a color cast? Am I saying that right? The caste system, if that makes sense. So we know records were changed. So, but we also know that there were, if you're pulling records that go to other countries, we know that there were in what is called Europe, we know that there were two calendars going on at the same time. So you might find, you know, two birth records, two death records. We also know that dealing with specifically North America, that sometimes you have to, the records that you pull, you may have to go to France, you may have to go to Spain to pull those records, because we know that depending on the timeline, that certain records are held by the countries that had control at the time. So it's not just pulling, it's not just when and where, it's also who, what was going on. You know, there's a lot of different factors. So writing down those factors and keeping that in mind, especially with timelines, will definitely help. Oh, and also churches. So we know that churches kept extensive records. So going to the churches in that area and even seeing that those churches still exist, but they may exist under a new name.
Yeah, and remember what we also learned about the Catholic records.
There you go.
The largest holder of Catholic records is Marquette University.
There you go. Yes.
Not the Catholic Church, Marquette University.
Right.
So if you have relatives that was in areas to where the Catholic churches were, your best bet and best chance of finding them records will be at Marquette University. They have a whole division and collection of the records. Again, that's Marquette University.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is something that I found. And at first I was dismissing it. And then when I stopped dismissing it, like, let me see what this is. Say you're doing your research on a certain ancestor, and it'll reference to a book. And let's say it'll say a book about colonial times or whatnot. Don't dismiss it, because there were books that were being referenced to, and I was like, colonial, though, this doesn't match up. They're not, colonial or whatnot. But sometimes you'll see a reference to an ancestor, a name will be put in a book, or a story being told by a book that was written, maybe 200 years ago. or a letter. Just saying. Leave no stone unturned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's really amazing and interesting. Some of the records that I pulled, where I've pulled them from. It could be an article. I mean, even if you see something in reference to a current newspaper, it's it. I found some really interesting things. Like, wait a minute, who was talking about this person? It could be talking about the town, the county. Sometimes when you see something that's referencing to a county, it'll definitely, especially when it's talking about different things that's going on that you may not find in history books. Be surprised.
Mm-hmm. But it also shows that this is a continuing process as well.
Right.
It isn't something that you want to get in and just autofill stuff in and don't check it and verify it. You get what I'm saying? You want to check it and verify it. Even at times to where it's good to step back. You work on your genealogy for a little bit. Then once you feel like you're getting stuck, take some time back. Take some time, step away from it a day or two, then get back to it,
Yeah.
Because it can get frustrated.
It's not happen overnight.
Yeah, you don't want to push yourself to the point to where you get frustrated and you end up putting in information that's not all the way correct that can, set you back later on down the line. So
yeah, definitely.
Remember, as you come across your ancestors' information, document it, and make a copy of that document and a copy of that copy and a copy of that copy.
Absolutely.
We must start becoming the holders of our ancestors' records.
Absolutely.
How are we going to say we honoring them and we're coming across their information and we're not doing anything to put it together in an organized fashion so all of our relatives, all of our brothers and sisters can have the option to find out who they are if they choose to. Again,
Absolutely.
It's a choice. But all we can do is make sure if people choose to want to know, that there's less red tape for them to find out. That the things that we went through, everybody else after us don't have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no more on this one, we can move to the next one.
Oh, I'm ready.
Grab it and post it in the chat. Give me 10 seconds.
10 seconds, Turkish.
This is from familysearch.org. .org. When you open up the link, look to your neighbor and say, "We ready.
We ready.
We ready."
To read on.
Rising Queen Copper. Grand Rising Michael Brown Harris Cheek.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising Pamela Hall.
Pamela Hall.
Feathered Dragon.
Feathered Dragon. Grand Rising.
Feathered Dragon.
All right.
Peace to the chat.
Absolutely. Peace to the chat.
All right. We wouldn't be reading to anybody if y'all weren't here with us. U.S. Social Security records for genealogists. Say what? Social Security Death Index. Introduction. That's the SSDI. Mic check.
1 2 1
Two,
2.
two, two.
Can y'all hear me? Many people who live in the U.S., peace to the chat, have a social security card issued by the U.S. government. A person was registered when he or she filled in an application form supplied by the Social Security Administration and was given a card showing his or her own social security number. The family of a deceased person could claim a small monetary benefit if the deceased had a social security number and the death was reported to the administration. Hold on one second. Bones, did you hear? Okay, so my wife and my neighbor's husband just passed, and my wife's mom passed in 2007. They were just talking about this. Exactly. Hold on, man, this is crazy. The Social Security, and since it's been so long from my wife's mom, she told her to still look into it. But that's great, man.
Yeah, I know for a fact they pay in this area. I don't know if it's universal through the nation. I know they pay a percentage of funeral costs too.
Yeah, I don't think she even tapped into the Social Security at all. Like, she didn't even look into it. That's crazy. But okay, all right. That's you had a drone over the house. I know.
Again, there's a lot of, but again, even this right here shows that there's a lot of information and a lot of benefits and programs that's going on that the majority of our people don't know about, or we don't find out about until it's too late or something bad happened. Like you said, something as simple as that the Social Security helps with funeral costs. And again, I don't know if it's a flat universal cost for across the nation, but I do know they do help with funeral costs.
Man, good to know. All right. The Social Security Death Index lists people who died between 1962 and the present. There are some earlier entries dating from before 1962. It includes only the names of deceased individuals whose deaths were reported to the Social Security Administration. Right. So SSDI on the internet, free sites, free hot links.
You say free?
Yeah, it didn't have a number with a dot and another number with it.
Like, don't cost nothing?
Yeah, ain't no dollar sign.
Just some of my time participation. That's it.
Yeah, like most things.
Oh.
Yeah. The index is online on several different sites, not just one. See, that's how many. The following sites have the SSDI online for free. FamilySearch.org. That's what we own right now. Click on the search tab and then choose the Social Security Death Index database from the left side of the screen. Instructions and a hot link.
Hold on. They telling you how to use it and where it's at, and that's free too?
You know what? Resetting your password shouldn't be complicated. And when it's easy, I like doing it. It's all right. I change my password. But man, when you got the hot link right here and instructions real quick on how to access it, and it's free. This is a site we own. They had to promote themselves first. I like that. Search.ancestry.com/search/db.aspx. Hot link. Family Tree Legends. Another hot link.
Are you reading from the screen?
Nope, I'm reading from my screen.
Okay.
You trying to mess me up? I know, right? Historical record collections. Are you on a different screen?
No.
you know the whole show seeing that, right, Gabrielle?
Okay, so I didn't see it, but either way, she boomed, not anymore. Look, she wasn't at that moment when she said no.
Hey, I think that was the fastest double click I've ever seen in my life.
It was so fast, I didn't even hear the click. That boy got stretchy pants. Okay, so historical that I was Steve Morse using
It
Stephen
was a
P.
blur. It
Morse's.
was a blur.
Oh man,
So that's all I seen. I looked at this and that's a blur real quick. I was like, what?
she one of the Incredibles. Yeah, that's super speed.
With y'all this Friday.
Another hot link. Steve Morse. Morse. Using Stephen P. Morse's website, SSDI website, allows you to search all SSDI websites by typing the information once and switching between the different sites, including a few that are not listed here. So what you're telling me is that I can go to Expedia.com and get kayak and let me stop saying names before I don't know if that's copyright, but nah. It's multiple,
No,
it's
we
multiple.
good. We on our own platform.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that. Man, this is eyes. That's crazy though. Steve Morse. Shout out to Steve Morse. Root Word would appreciate that. That's a conglomerate. That's a whole bunch of websites similar to these that you can choose from on one website. Stephen P. Morse.
Links with links. They got links. They got some more links.
And it's probably free, I'm sure, because it says free at the top of this whole, man. Okay. The Social Security Administration updates the death index monthly. Every site does not update their database every month. Therefore, what you find at one site may not be available at another site. The Social Security Administration updates the death index monthly.
So they constantly updating, huh?
So next we have SSDI contents. SSDI, Social Security Death Index. The Social Security Death Index typically has the following information on the individuals: month and year of death, Social Security number, state where the number was issued, last zip code of residence or zip code where the death benefit was sent. We got that real information. I mean, you got the Social Security number. You probably got the right person if it matches the month and year of death. Obtaining additional information beyond the SSDI. Gabrielle, where you at?
In my house.
Okay, I'll just make sure. Shout out to TMH. When you find an individual, when you find an individual in the index, you can request a full copy of their application, which is known as a SS5 form or SS5. Roots Web, oh, look at that. Roots Web has made the process easy. That's another hot link. Don't click it, Gabrielle. After completing a search, you will find a link in the Tools column labeled SS5 letter. By clicking on the link, you will find a form letter with the name, Social Security number, and pertinent dates from the death index already filled in. You will need to do the following before mailing the request to the SSA. Add your personal contact information to the letter. Add your name, address, and daytime telephone number. Include a check or money order made payable to the Social Security Administration. The SSA also accepts MasterCard, Visa, and Discover credit cards. Include the card number and expiration date if you're using a credit card. The current fee is USD $27 per record when the Social Security number is known, and USD $29 when the number is unknown or incorrect. You are charged the fee even if the SSA is unable to locate any information on the person. It may take up to 6 months to receive a report, so please be patient. Roots Web has no way to expedite your order or to determine when it will be sent. Don't be calling asking when it's going to be sent. You can also obtain copies of your ancestors' SS5 application by Hot link. Online request for deceased individual social security record payable by credit card. Fees are the same as a mail request. Print form SSA 711. Request for deceased individual social security record found at Social Security. Hot link. Call your local social security office and request a copy of form SSA-711.
We
All right, so
phone up real quick. We're gonna keep moving forward, but remember the term the S5. Remember that.
SS5.
Yeah, the SS5. We're gonna address that, but that's coming up.
Gotcha.
And just to add, if they're unable to locate the application, they will send you a copy of the card. The card that they'll send you a copy. If they can't find the original application to send you, they'll send you a copy of the card, if that makes sense.
Thanks for that info.
This next section is titled mic check.
1 2 1 2.
2 Grand Rising Macadon 1. Grand Rising Pudding. Peace to everyone that's listening and following along on Twitch.
Peace to the chat. Put an S on it.
Chats. Peace to the chats.
SS5 application. The SS5 application is important to a family history researcher because of the detail it provides. The SS5 application contains the following information: applicant's full name, age at last birthday, date and place of birth, father and mother's full name, including mother's maiden name. Shout out to the maidens. Gender, date signed, and applicant's signature.
Let me just add to that too. What you'll also find is when the application was filled out, you'll not just only see mother's maiden name, but you'll also see if there are children that are on the application too. And the date on the application may be different from the birth record. That, like, if you found a birth record and then you also found the social security number and you go for the application, the birth date may be different, but don't disregard that. But you'll also see, like, if it's a father, then you'll see, okay, he put in the application and it has mother's maiden name. It'll also sometimes have the father and the children that were born at the time, or maybe even just the children that went down there with him or her.
Gotcha.
That's it.
For information on ordering a copy of an SS5, see the Social Security Administration website. Hot link. The PDF for ordering a deceased individual's Social Security application is available here. Hot link. Online, U.S. Social Security Applications and Claims Index.
Hold up. So you mean I don't have to get from in front of my digital device to do
You
this?
You ain't had to push a chair out to stand up. Unless you switch it.
And if you have a ancestry.com account, because that's the one that I use mainly. I use the family. Well, it's 2 other ones I use, but through ancestry.com, where it gives you the option when you pull the social security record and birth certificate or death certificate record, it actually gives you the option to order it through the website.
Mm-hmm. Because I do the same thing between ancestry.com and familysearch.org.
Yep.
Because familysearch.org, they're better with the local records, the county and state records, and Ancestry, they have a whole lot of federal records.
Yeah.
Different documentation, court records and stuff.
Yep.
But a lot of your local stuff you'll find through familysearch.org.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way the databases and the servers are set up.
Yeah.
The way my database is set up. Online. This is online, y'all. Like Bone said, you ain't even got to turn the phone off unless you're being rude. U.S. Social Security Applications and Claims Index. 1936 to 2007. Hot link, and there is a $ behind it, and it ain't Thai $sign. So that means there's a charge for that link, that hot link, or that request of Social Security applications and claims index. Yeah. A wiki. Huh? Say it again.
No, I just kind of wanted to add real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I want you to say it. I was saying, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of wanted to add real quick the reasoning behind 1936 to 2007. Keeping in mind that you're not going to find Social Security applications before that time, because before that time, the Social Security Administration and Social Security numbers weren't implemented.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
So
timelines.
Right. So as far as the Social Security number, going back to 1936, and you may find a couple here and there in 1934, but for the most part, you're not going to find anything before that for Social Security numbers. So
that's a wise, yeah.
Yeah. So before that, you'll definitely have to go off of birth, death, census, and other records that are able to be
records, land records, tax records,
court records. Yeah.
Military records. Sometimes you can find education records from schooling.
Yeah. But I'll say this personally, pulling the Social Security records with Social Security number and everything, because of seeing the children that were on some of the records, it actually helped me link the persons that I was pulling the information on through the Social Security application and the number. It actually helped me link to not only the parents, but also the parents' parents of the person who filled out the application based off of the people, maiden names and children that were put on the application. So it helps. I'm just throwing it out there. It does help.
Yeah. A couple of months back, me and Nostella had a conversation about that when I was telling them doing genealogy, sometimes when you get stuck, it helps if you start putting in the brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Because through their brothers and sisters, it start unlocking other connections in your family tree. You'll be surprised in one generation by putting in their brothers and sisters, how many other links down the line automatically open up for you to research.
Yeah, don't just cherry pick the grand and the grandmother and father and the grandmother, great grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Don't just stick with the elders, the families. Yeah, there are other connections.
Do your research. You know what I'm saying? Also research the brothers and the sisters.
Brothers and sisters.
Yeah, because
they have children as well.
Yeah, and not just that, they may have created more of a paper trail, if that makes sense. So you have siblings where one may became a doctor, one may have became a farmer, one may have became a worker, but maybe that doctor created more of a paper trail so that you can tie those records in. Or maybe the worker, because he or she was employed with so-and-so, and they had some type of connection with the family, and those records are there. So yeah, you are absolutely correct. Going to the brothers and sisters of the person that you're researching on and pulling information on absolutely helps.
And one thing we have all heard before, and I will repeat it again: disregard when you see race in these categories. Please do.
Yes.
Oh,
because
yeah.
It will have you stuck for a very necessary time.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that needs to be said again, Bones. I don't think that's going to...
Disregard race when you're doing your genealogy research. And this is why I say that.
Please.
Because this prior to 1970, wasn't nobody self-identifying themselves.
Hey, now, is that
whatever is there for race, somebody else's interpretation. Do not allow someone else's interpretation of your family to distort your quest or your
Absolutely.
That's probably the biggest tip today, like of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
On this genealogy research, do not let the racial classifications jam you up. Just disregard it.
So just imagine the address, the birth date, the census, I guess, the actual census itself, like all of that matches up. But then he's like, oh man, I don't know about that one. That's just
No.
But you delete it, but then you don't never find nothing else ever. You stuck. I'm stuck.
The first thing you have to remember, you have to put the racial context back in its timeline.
Right.
What year census is it? What are the classifications and how are they identifying people?
Who's doing the census?
Right.
And let's not be naive and forget, we had ancestors that were passing.
Yep.
Some of us, again, have whole family lines to where sides of the family passed and just continued to marry European. I mean, like it or not, it's the reality. So again, on this research, disregard race. Do not let that define how you do your research again.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if you're black or white.
You got a problem. Something wrong with you. That wasn't me.
Especially when somebody else is doing the identifying.
Correct.
Oh, I thought he was about to talk about it. Especially when somebody else is doing the background. So.
I thought he was about
the background. Man, you got problems, Gabrielle. All you.
It's all you.
All right, so this last section right here. A wiki article describing an online collection is found at, so they promoting Wikipedia because they got sources at the bottom. United States Social Security Death Index, Family Search Historical Records, hot link. And Social Security Death Index, SSDI, hot link. That is all. Oh, I just clicked the hot link.
And again, I would like to take this time to thank Celestial Love for sending in the email, because her question, again, was a good question, and it allows us to pull information that's useful for all of us as a community. That's why we say, again, any questions, comments, ask us. We have no problem with taking the time out and researching and finding the information or finding the individuals that do know the information and how to get it done. Again, if we don't know the information on the answer, we will go out of our way to find the information or the person that does have it.
Oh, we're going to find out.
We ain't trying to be right. We are here to get it right.
Off top. Oh, she just clicked.
I mean, thoughts on what we went over so far?
More tips. What they do, Darren from the couch say, or from that infomercial, they out to help you. Both of these links, all of these links. Gabrielle, we can see your screen.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's no problem. What you got?
She clicked that one.
So the United States Social Security Death Index, that link. Okay. What is in this collection? The Social Security Death Index is a database created from the Social Security Administration Death Master File. This is an index of deceased individuals whose deaths were reported to Social Security Administration, which also means, because I did find some records that didn't have it, if the death wasn't reported to Social Security Administration, the application, the initial information will be reported, but it won't have, if they have a death with Social Security Administration and it differs from, let's say, the date on the death certificate, that's because they got the information. They got the information later, not when it happened, if that makes sense. So most times on the death certificate or the information coming from Social Security Administration, it'll say about, instead of giving an exact date, if that makes sense. But it has been kept since 1962, when operations were computerized. The index includes a few deaths from 1937 to 1961, about 50% of deceased persons from 1962 to 1971, and about 85% of deceased persons from 1972 to 2005. Married women are usually listed in this index under their married name. Last names longer than 12 letters are shortened to 12 characters. The death place listed is not necessarily the place of death. It is the last place of residence that the Social Security Administration has on file.
Hold up right there. I want to go back to something that you said. Last names longer than 12 letters for what?
Shortened to 12 characters.
So that's a very, very, very important piece of information to remember doing your
Absolutely.
research when it comes to last names.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's see. Okay. The death place listed is not necessarily the place of death. It is the last place of residence that the Social Security Administration has on file. That's also important to keep in mind too. When two geographical divisions are given, they represent county state as opposed to city state. For example, Jefferson, Texas refers to county of Jefferson, not the city of Jefferson. If a town name of last resident is not listed, it may be found by use of the zip code. The death date, residence at time of death, social security number, and state of issue are usually reliable information since the information comes directly from the Social Security Administration's master file. However, realize that errors may have occurred when the information was originally entered. Information listed for the name and birth date was provided by an informant or may be inaccurate.
It goes back to what you said, that if the birth year is off by a couple of years or so, like a year or two, that sometimes disregarded, especially if everything else is matching up.
Correct.
If it's tying into their mother, their father, you see the family, the brothers and sisters on there. So yeah.
And then sometimes it could be the child. Because sometimes, and this is what I've seen on some records, where the child goes to its Social Security Administration, but wasn't sure, was sure of the month, wasn't really sure about the date day, and was also sure about the year. So it may be, March 3rd, 19 or 1879 they put down, but the actual birth on the birth certificate may be March 27th, 1876. It doesn't mean that it's not right. It's based off of who's giving the information, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I said earlier that doing this research, you have to treat it like any other research, that you have to actually take your time and make sure what ties in. Because again, the birth, day, and year might not tie in, but the mother, the father, the sisters, the brother, the children, everybody else do. And then you know that's your relative.
Right. Absolutely. The Social Security Administration, SSA, was created in 1936 and began issuing Social Security numbers to track the earnings that workers reported for retirement benefits. In 1961, the Internal Revenue Service began using Social Security numbers to identify taxpayers. The SSA provides an extract from its files for distribution through the Department of Commerce's National Technical Information Service. Because this extracted file deals with deceased persons, the information is considered to be in the public domain. Several organizations have purchased this file and posted it to their websites. The purpose of this index was twofold: to protect the benefits to beneficiaries of pension funds, insurance benefits, and assist federal, state, and local governments and others responsible for verifying deceased persons in support of fulfillment of benefits to their beneficiaries and to identify and prevent identity fraud. And
hold up. I was waiting for the end, but I couldn't hold it. Hold up. And to tell me that, let's say if a group of people decided they wanted to start their own, genealogy society, like, any group, you could purchase these records to start your archive collection as a society.
Yep. Which is ancestry.com, family search, twofold.
So basically, if you wanted to start collecting your own records and files, it just take applying yourself?
Yep.
Oh, okay, just checking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Man, why does it seem like everything
that was a good cut.
applying yourself? I don't understand. What is this applying yourself stuff all of a sudden? That sounds like sweat equity or something.
We can do it.
Let's see, to prevent identity fraud and identify persons who are deceased. In 2014, federal regulations changed the rules for access to Social Security death master file. Records for the most recent 3 years are not available. This collection was last updated in 2016. The following disclaimer from National Technical Information Service. The products advertised on this website contain the complete and official Social Security Administration SSA database extract, as well as updates to the full file on persons reported to SSA as being deceased. SSA.
Link. Please say that link, because we got to contact somebody immediately after the show.
Okay.
I needs to know.
Thus, wait, did I skip something? I think I did. SSA authorizes the use of this database as a death verification tool, but notes that the death master file DMF may contain inaccuracies. Thus, SSA cannot guarantee the accuracy of the DMF. Therefore, the absence of a particular person on this file is not proof that the individual is alive. Further, in rare instances, it is possible for the records of a person who is not deceased to be included erroneously in the DMF. For additional information about the index, please visit the National Technical Information Services page, Limited Access Death Master File. Hot link.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now you clicking hot links. Go to the one where they say you can purchase it. That's what I need to know, like, immediately.
Where information is considered. That can't be right. Hold on. Still the same. Hold on.
I know it was mentioned where you said there was like several websites purchase this file.
You talking about Morse?
So
who trying to purchase this file? Put it up on the website.
Hold on.
Free access. It's not a problem. I needs to know. because what it takes. Registered as a nonprofit organization, check. The ability to archive a digital database, check. Next is just acquiring access to the records and files so our brothers and sisters can have immediate free access. I needs to know. I don't know about no stuff. I love when people say what we can't do.
Let me think. I think I found the website. Okay, I did. Give me a second. Let me make sure.
Problem.
Okay. I found the website. Give me a second. Where am I putting this?
You can put it in the back chat. Even in the yeah, anyone, it don't matter. Wherever you put it, I'm finna click on it.
Put it up.
You?
And you would go into, nope, scroll down to Federal Data Access. And then, oh, okay. Instructions for obtaining certification are available at Classic. This product advertised on this website contains the security administration. Okay. Limited access. This SSA cannot guarantee the accuracy of the. Okay. So here is, I'm putting this link in on.
All right.
You got it?
You can go ahead and put it in.
Okay, I'm gonna put this link in. This is how you become certified to there you go. This is how you become certified. Review sample certification. So a lot of links. Those who are willing to put the time. Sweat equity is here. Select the product which meets your organization's needs. DMF online products, DMF raw data file products. So basically, go through all this to establish, get certified.
I'm on it now.
Basically, you go through all of this and then you get certified.
What I see here, it says organization. Bones, shout out to Bones.
Check.
Genealogical Society, okay. Okay. All right, okay.
So
I'm putting ancestry traces on all you. No, I'm just kidding. Oh no, let me stop.
You just live down here.
Okay, let me get back to this. Okay, let's see. Image visibility. Whenever possible, Family Search makes images and indexes available for all users. However, rights to view rights to view these data are limited to contract and subject to change. Because of this, there may be limitations on where and how images and indexes are available or who can see them. Please be aware some collections consist only of partial information indexed from the records and do not contain any images. For additional information about image restrictions, please see the restrictions for viewing images in Family Search Historical Records Collections page. Hot link. What can these records tell me? The following information may be found in these records. Name of the deceased, married woman are usually listed by their married name. Birth date, death date, state or territory where the Social Security number was issued. Death, residence, zip code, and corresponding localities. The death residence as okay. The death residence as not necessarily the place of death, rather TT, is the last place of residence that the Social Security Administration has on file. So if and just to kind of expand and clarify that, basically, let's say someone was the last place that they had on record, Social Security Administration had on record, was that the person that you're searching for was in like Macon, Georgia, right? Well, say they may have passed away and they were in, I don't know, Oakland, California, but they don't have that record. They're going to go based off of the last record and the last bit of information that they pull that they're able to get based off the last place of residence. So say the person that you're looking for was in Macon, Georgia for like 50 years and then moved for whatever reason to Oakland, California. Well, that information they didn't receive that information, but they did receive information that that person had passed away. So they put, based off of the information that they have, it would be Macon, Georgia, but you have a record that says, hey, this person passed away in Oakland, California. It doesn't mean that it's not the same person, if that makes sense.
Another heavy tip. That was, man, come on, man, with these. I didn't even know that. That's 2 tips today I didn't even know.
Yeah, because I've actually pulled records where it'll have someone, and then you also have to take into consideration if, depending on the timeline, shout out to Double Cousin, timelines, again, are important because of this factor. When you see, especially if you see it for North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, South Carolina, it may, you have to also factor in when the states were created, even down to California. So if you see something that says someone passed away in California and California at that time wasn't a state, then you have to understand that that was a territory at that time. Or if you see that someone passed away, it shows a record that someone passed away in South Carolina, but South Carolina wasn't established until 1812, then it's actually North Carolina. So sometimes you'll see a record that says North Carolina and South Carolina, or North Carolina and Virginia. You have to factor in also when was that state created. So having the original record helps, because the original record will show the state or territory at that time versus the digital record that'll only go off of what's established now, if that makes sense.
Now that one I knew, because that's timelines. You know that.
Right.
Timeline.
You're gonna catch me in Florida when I know, or catch me in Louisiana when I know it's Florida.
Right. See, even down to that, you'll see on when you pull the digital record will say Louisiana. But if you look at the timeline at the year, you'll say, wait a minute, Louisiana wasn't existing then. Okay, so this was Florida. And you get the original record, and the original record will either say Florida or it'll say the territory.
Yeah, that's again, you state a real good reason why the original record is very important. That
Right.
even online, that digital representation of it, just letting you know that there's a record, but you want to do the best that you can to get a copy of the actual record.
Absolutely.
Even if it takes, going locally, or some of us that's in the local areas. I mean, we conversate every rising now for how long? What is it to have a conversation for somebody that's in that area, if they can get the copies for you? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, it only happens when we start working with each other, but actually start doing it. And then from there, a spark will start. And those who gonna follow and do. And those who don't. But we know what we have to do to fix the problems of our community, the problems in our families and our neighborhoods,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Collection content. Sample of index information. Field on the left side, values on the right side. Age, 91. Given name, John, that would be the first name. Surname, Smith, that would be the last name. Birth date, 19th of May, 1894. State, Nebraska. Event date, March 1964. So the event date would be the date of death. How do I search this collection? To search the index, it is helpful to know the name of your deceased ancestor, the place where your ancestor died, the approximate date of the death. Let me just add this. I've also pulled records where the nickname is on the birth certificate, the nickname is on census records, but on the death certificate and the Social Security record, a full name is given. So also keep in mind that a lot of times nicknames, and I'm using the word nicknames, nicknames were used, were actually put on records, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Search the index. Search by name by visiting the collection details page. Fill in the search boxes in the search collection section with the information you know. Click the search to show the possible matches. How do I analyze the results? Compare each result from your search with what you know to determine if there is a match. This may require viewing multiple records or images. Keep track of your research in a research log. Keeping track of your research is really, really important. Sometimes just what you keep track of, again, what Bone said, when you get a copy of it, print it out, make another copy and make another copy. Get a binder, a folder, something to put it in so you can keep it organized. Keeping your records and your research organized and put together helps make it easier as you go forward. And you say, oh, okay, well, this person I'm looking for, I see on this record, they've got this children, can't find anything on this person, but then you see that you have records on the brothers and sisters of that person, and you have records, and you line it up. Because sometimes, like, you'll see that person, whoever you're looking on, their children at some point may have lived with the sister or brother, and they're on a census record. It's keep it together.
Another great scenario.
Yo.
What do I do now? So what's that scenario?
Hey, yo. No, okay, go ahead.
I found the person I was looking for. What now? Use the death date and place to obtain a death certificate. The death certificate may lead you to mortuary, funeral, or church records. Follow the additional instructions.
For the nosebleeds, one more time.
Okay. Use the
I
death date.
forgot that the funeral homes keep records too. Wait, I'm going on here.
Yeah, I've pulled obituaries. I've actually been able to find obituaries, and like I said, don't dismiss information. Some information that I was able to pull on death, even though it may not initially came from Social Security Administration, I was able to see, even if it was a small article in a newspaper at that time, where I was able to pull that and then see, okay, they're saying they're buried here, and then go forward from there, even if it's a newspaper clipping or article. But use the death date and place to obtain a death certificate. The death certificate may lead you to mortuary, funeral, or church records. Follow the additional instructions on the screen for each search tip and to learn how to request a copy of the person's original application. Use the birth date or age along with the place of birth to find your ancestors' birth records and parents' names. If your ancestor was born before 1940, you can use the birth date or age along with the place of birth to find the family in census records. Use the residence to locate other family members, church and land records. There goes that church again. There goes that church again. There goes that church again.
Stretch pants. Church again. There goes that church again.
Married women are usually listed under their married name. The death places. Oh, let me add. Okay, so you may find census records where it shows the woman. You'll find records for going 20 years or 30, whatever the case may be. You may find records where a woman, whatever information you're trying to pull, it keeps showing the married name. That at times can be confusing. I'll say for me, at times it was confusing until I realized it's not until I get to, if I pay attention, there's records where when they get married, you may find a bond in relation to that, which is really helpful. If it lists a mother, a father, or both, then you can go back and pull census records under the maiden name, if that makes sense. So don't dismiss it, even if it's, because sometimes too, you'll also find records where even though you're finding records with the woman's married name, the children, for whatever reasoning, I found it where the children wind up having the mother's maiden name in addition to their father's name, if that makes sense too. Okay. The death place is not necessarily the place of death. Again, the death place is not necessarily the place of death. It is the last place of residence that the Social Security Administration has on file. When two geographical divisions are given, they represent county, state, as opposed to city, state. For example, Jefferson, Texas refers to the county of Jefferson, not the city of Jefferson. So again, timelines. If there is a Jefferson City in Jefferson County now in Texas, that doesn't mean that Jefferson City was a city back then. It's going based off of the county.
So Wilkinson
County
wasn't always Wilkinson County. All right.
Right, because you got to think back then, a lot of places, the counties were established before the cities were actually established.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I got you. Let's see what they're doing.
Using the zip code of last residence helps determine the town. On some records, not all. On some records, because you have to also understand, along with timelines, zip code areas change, just like zip codes and area codes have changed within the last 20 years based off of rezoning and, remapping or whatnot. So,
Yeah.
yes, that is helpful, but not always, depending on if that area still has the same zip from then to now, then yes. But
Yeah,
if it
you have to know the
doesn't,
history of the area too. Yeah.
right.
It's important
Yeah,
to know the history of the area as well, where your ancestors were living at the time.
absolutely. Absolutely. The information in the records is usually reliable, but depends upon the reliability of the informant. So, again, depending on who was giving the information, it could have been a young child at the time, maybe 8 or 9, going off of what they know. It could have been an elder who, and sometimes you'll see it, and I've pulled records where the information given on a death certificate isn't given by a husband or wife or child, it's given by a friend. So based off of whoever's giving the information and they're putting the information down is based off of what they know. So that's why it's saying it's usually reliable, but is also dependent on who's giving the information to them.
Yeah, that's why you got to cross reference the information.
Right. Absolutely. There is also some variation in the information given from one record to another. So again, you can probably see on a birth certificate information that lines up one way, but then you see on a census record where it lines up in a different way, and then you see on a death certificate and social security application where it's close but not exactly, which doesn't mean that it's not the same person. It doesn't mean that the information is wrong. It just means based off the information given at the time. And then you also have to take into consideration, which is something I had to actually start implementing and reminding myself, that you have quote unquote accents. So based off of what somebody was hearing too, would also determine how they wrote something down or how they may or may not have interpreted to put that information down. Surnames longer than 12 letters are truncated to 12 characters. You may need to retry your search using only the first 12 letters of the last name.
One more time,
Yeah,
please.
surnames longer than 12 letters are truncated to 12 characters. You may need to retry your search using only the first 12 letters of the name. Oh.
Ha 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 ha.
Nope. I'm not going there right now. Hold on. Just thought about something. Search the search the index to see if other family members are also listed. I'll read that again. Search the index to see if other family members are also listed. It's not searching that index to see other family members. It's not just to help extend on the information that you're pulling about that person. You're pulling, there's cousins, aunts, uncles. You want to pull as much information.
Your family. As much your family as possible.
Yeah. This might include father, mother, brothers, and sisters. Search the index to see if earlier or later generations are also listed. Search the index to see if earlier or later generations are also listed. These might include aunts, uncles, grandparents, or children. I've actually pulled records where I found nieces and cousins listed, like, oh, okay, this just became easier. I can't find the person I'm looking for. What now? Look for variant spellings of the name. I will read that again. Look for variant spellings of the names. You should also look for nicknames and abbreviated names. So variant spellings, it's not just if it sounds the same. Sometimes a whole name is spelled in such a way where it doesn't even look like, say, Smith. Smith, we know is Smith, but it may be Smeph. Just look for variants, because sometimes, again, depending on who was hearing and how they spelled and who was writing it down, that the spelling of a name can change very, very quickly. Also found records where it's not even the first or middle name. It's literally the first letter, the letter to the first name, the letter to the middle name, and just the last name. Look for another index. Local genealogical and historical societies often have indexes to local records. Look, that's local in your.
One more time, please.
Yeah.
They have access to what?
Local genealogical and historical societies often have indexes to local records. So, like, okay, case in point. I was looking up, trying to find information. I thought I had hit a dead end. So I pulled up the county for the timeline for early 1800s. I pulled up information on the county to find more information on the person that I was pulling information on, and pulling up the genealogical information on that county, not the town first, but the county, helped me narrow it down to the town name at the time, which is not the town name now, but still gave me the information I needed to pull other records. You'd be surprised how, even if you don't go to state archives, state genealogical information, you'll be surprised how local towns and counties have a lot of genealogical information. Okay, search the indexes and records of nearby counties. It's there. I'm trying to tell you, it's there. Try alternative search methods such as only filing in the surname. Try alternative search methods such as only filling in the surname search box or the given name search box on the landing page, leaving the other box empty, and then click on search. This should return a list of everyone with that particular name. You should then browse the list for individuals that may be your ancestor. Married women are usually listed under their married names. Also, thinking about this too, you may not ever find a marriage certificate. You may find records that'll say inferred marriage, and that's because depending on where they were at, who they were, where they came from, you may not find a marriage record, but it doesn't mean that they weren't married. And then you also have to factor in surnames, quote unquote, why this. You have to factor in the type of surname, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Research helps. The following articles will help you in your research for your family in the United States. United States Guided Research, United States Records Finder, Research Tips and Strategies. Citing this collection. Citations help you keep track of places you have searched and sources you have found. Identifying your sources helps others find the records you used. Collection citation. The citation for this collection can be found in our collection details page in the section citing this collection. Record citation. When looking at a record, the citation can be viewed by clicking the drop-down arrow next to the document information. How can I contribute to the Family Search Wiki? We welcome users' additions to Family Search historical records. Wiki articles. We are looking for additional information that will help readers understand the topic and better. Use the available records. We also need translation for collection titles and images, and articles about records written in languages other than English. For specific needs, please visit Wiki Project Family Search Historical Records. Please follow these guidelines as you make changes. Thank you for any contribution you may provide.
That's great info.
Mm-hmm.
Fire.
Quick update. Just sent off for the application to get qualifications.
Oh, shoot.
Bones ain't messing around.
Oh, that's A2.
Oh, shoot.
So thoughts on the information we covered this rising, dealing with genealogy?
I appreciate the information. I learned a few things this rising.
Sound
Tools I can use.
man. Genealogy is key. It is important. You find out a lot of information. I know that like I started my ancestry account in 2007. I literally thought I was going to hit some records where it said Africa, 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 English, 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 European, you know what I mean? That's what I thought I was going to see. And that's not what I found. And so in addition to not finding what I expected to see, I also found with records, with the information that I pulled, it also comes with stories. You know, there were books, there were articles, newspaper clippings, there were church records where I was like, dang, how do you get kicked out of a church? Like, but it gives you expanded knowledge and expanded understanding into a history that's been told to you one way.
Mm-hmm.
Gabrielle, didn't you get kicked out of church?
Yeah.
What happened was,
I mean, okay.
You following in your
So
ancestors'
it
footsteps.
kind yeah, I found a lot of stuff that makes me make sense now. Like, oh, okay. It makes sense. Not knocking, people who go to church. Shout out to people who go to church. I'm just saying. It made sense for me. But yeah, doing your genealogy, you find out more than just, oh, okay, this is my mom, this is my grandmother, this is my grandfather. You find out more information, and it gives you, I mean, there were times where I was pulling information, pulling historical information, even about towns being established, counties being established. And it just was like, man, like, I'm glad I'm here now, regardless of what's happened in the past and what's transpired. There were things that I read, like, man, everybody was living rough. Like, it just gives you a better insight. And I think it's important. I think it's really important because you don't look at people the same way. You may judge more, you may judge less, but it does change you. It changes perspective.
I mean, that's so true.
And I mean, for me, it actually gave me more compassion for situations, things, and people that I didn't have before. Not to say I'm like cold or callous, but it definitely opened up my mind like, everybody got tricked.
Mm-hmm. again, genealogy is very important.
Yeah.
It'll tell you your true story.
Yeah.
Nobody's interpretation of nobody. No, you can find out for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know. And again, it's a process. You know, some days with it are better than others. You might have some days where everything just tying in and linking in. Then you have other days where nothing ties in. You know, but remember, it's a process. Also, take time, step away, relax, then get back into it. You know, and remember, also use the sisters and brothers, uncles, aunties, because in the end, they're all your ancestors.
Yeah.
And each one is a link to another ancestor that links to another ancestor that links to another ancestor. And it's like with any puzzle piece. If you happen to leave that one piece in the box, that might be the most important piece for the puzzle to be put together.
Absolutely.
And no matter what, it'll never be complete and right because you got missing pieces. So yeah, you want to make sure that you include every family member that you come across and as much information that you can find on them.
Yeah, this reminds me of that saying. It's a saying, the dead die twice. Once when they pass away and once when they're not, and again when they're not remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it tells a story like with all the things, if you just off of what we know now, putting all that to factor in, like these are the people that came together, these are the situations that happened, this is what transpired to bring us where we are right now. And we have the capability and opportunity to put it all together. Again, as you said, it's a puzzle, and we putting all these pieces together.
Mm-hmm. You just start realizing, like most of us do, they all tie in.
Yeah. They are all a piece of us. You know, you may have a knack for something and you don't know a mother, father, aunt, or uncle, you know, that has a knack for it. Like, where does it come from? You do your genealogy and you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's me? Okay. Well, I say, oh, okay. Yeah, genealogy is important. I think it cuts down a lot of confusion, regardless of what's said elsewhere or what's taught elsewhere. The confusion within, or should I, let me just speak for myself. The confusion within me goes away.
Yeah, same here.
Wait, I thought they said, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Ain't no confusion. This is it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what they can say whatever they want. I know different.
I don't even know who they is.
Them that
I
they
still on that day. Oh, they got to introduce us because I'm
I know
tired of
they
hearing
got a
about
whole lot of explaining to do whenever somebody point out who they is. What
Hey,
does he look like?
Do they know me?
You?
Do they know me at all?
Yeah, because I definitely don't know him. I don't even know.
Let me know. Have we been in? Because that means that I've been watched, and I don't like being watched.
They watching me.
Still, who they? Where they at?
Why you over there looking at me? Yeah, genealogy. I'll tell anybody. Better do it.
I mean, if there's no more thoughts or anything on it, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, all right, all right.
And
Salivations.
once again, shout outs and much thanks to Celestial Love for her email question.
Oh yeah.
A great question that led to a great show topic. Thanks again. Appreciate that.
Celestial Love. All right, salivations. Keep on your genealogical journey. It is important. Know who you are so that no one can tell you who you are. Period. Doing your genealogy helps with that. It defines who you come from, where you come from. Again, know who you are so that no one can tell you who you are. Census Day is coming up, April 1st. Count so that you can be counted. It doesn't just affect you. While you are important, it affects others too. So, yeah, make yourself count so that you can count. We also got the yearly census. Again, they're looking for like 650 something thousand people to volunteer to fill out that census. So, yet again, another way to count so that we can count. In addition to, if you're farming, they've got the 5-year census. So, pay attention to that. The yearly census, again, that's what locally is used to factor in who represents and who runs and all that stuff, who we vote for, who we don't vote for, what their agenda is or not. So, yeah, make yourself count so that you can count. Get actively involved. Have conversations with your neighbors in your community. Um, City council meetings. You got local officials where you want to know what they're about, what they're for. How does that represent you? How does that help you? How does that help your community? So, yeah, get actively involved. They've got Facebook, they've got websites, get notifications. If you can't make it to a meeting, talk to somebody who can make it to a meeting. Even if you can't make it to a meeting, go on Facebook or go online to their website. They have them recorded and they post them for public view so that if you can't physically make it there, you can still make it there. You can still see what's going on. Um, so, yeah, get actively involved. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to the silent majority. Shout out to Double Cousin for these wise words of wisdom. People will not look forward to prosperity who never look backward to their ancestors.
Huh.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, I like that one. Go ahead and give it to me again.
People will not look forward to prosperity who never look backward to their ancestors.
Got to be more careful.
You are the fairy tale told by your ancestors. And whatever my ancestors did to you, none of them consulted me. I figured you like that one.
One more time.
Whatever my ancestors did to you, none of them consulted me. No one can be free who has 1,000 ancestors. No self is of itself alone. It has a long chain of intellectual ancestors. The I is chained to ancestry by many factors. This is not mere allegory, but an eternal memory. So, yeah.
You heard them today. Somebody is hurt somewhere. In a good way, a great way, a motivating affirmation way.
You said what? And okay, last but not least, we all carry inside of us people who came before us.
Facts.
And lastly,
You know, when you say last, you can't really say lastly after, but go ahead. You can
okay, so kind of lastly, friends come and go, but relatives tend to accumulate.
Ain't that right?
No
matter what you do, they still relatives.
Oh man, yeah, that one might hurt, but
no, I'm not.
Oh baby.
Okay, this is kind of lastly, but that's it. And I'm giving it to you, double cousin. If you are lucky enough to be a genealogist, you are lucky enough.
There you go. You are.
So again, piece of the panel, piece of the chat, piece of the silent majority. Yeah. Again, oh, and programs. Funding doesn't go away. Just saying, it's all there and it all ties together. We can do it.
Ain't that right? Well, Gabrielle has said enough for me not to say much. Questions, comments, concerns, and or corrections, please email us at autonomousAssembly@gmail.com. Check out the website. Check out the forum. Man, the forum. Yeah. It's Friday, as it is every day. I hope y'all have a great, grand rest of your day and an even grander weekend. Mic check. Peace to the chats. Peace to the panel. I don't know why we're saying peace to the panel like we're getting off the phone after. Okay. Peace to the panel. Shout out to Autonomous Assembly, which is all of you. But yeah, man, Gabrielle said exactly what needed to be said, and Bones, man, I'm not touching the microphone after that. Peace, y'all.
All right. Appreciate it again. Gabrielle No Sellout for another great Grand Rising show. Also thank the active chat and the silent majority. Because again, as always, it takes all of us coming together to make this possible. And basically, gonna leave out with community. The coming together in unity. Community. What does it really mean? What is it? Community isn't every single one of us feeling and doing the exact same thing. Community isn't all of us having the same spiritual belief at the end of the day, liking the same foods, colors, or fashion. No. Community is when we're able to move beyond that to realize as people, we have a common need. The need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. The need to make sure that we are providing for the children and our elders. The need to make sure that we become the holders of our records, of our stories and our information, and also the providers of the same content. To make sure if there's anybody who's searching to find their way, that they can't get caught up in scams, schemes, or anything else that's trying to prey on people that's just looking for a way out. That all of us know the scams, the situations, how a lot of people get caught up. Some of us that's here right now have been caught up. So you know what we do? We make sure that we become that shining light. We, as a community, to let it be known that if you need to find your way, it's here. If you need the information to how to become self-sufficient, it's here. Not only is it here, you have brothers and sisters that are willing and ready to work with you so we can get this accomplished. That we do not have to take from each other to get any of this accomplished. All it takes is us getting our personal affairs together, then putting together our corporations, our institutions to represent us. Then it takes us being active locally in our communities and politics to elect people that believe in the direction that you're trying to go. So then now we can start affecting policies to make changes, to get acts that become laws in our benefit. But if we're too busy sitting down, repeating the same mistakes over and over and over that history blatantly so ever points out, what are we going to get accomplished? This is where we all need to take the time out and think. What we do today is history. What we're doing now is recorded. 20 years from now, your children can listen back to see what their grandparents stood for, what we were doing, so that no one else can sit there and tell them who we were. We have the opportunity to define that and engrave it in stone. But then again, it takes us as an individual doing that work, finding out who you are, finding out what part you play in this, what responsibility that you take on so we can fix these mistakes, our mistakes. Because we can't address what no one else did until we address what we do to ourselves. So on that note, let's continue to work in our communities. Let's continue to learn about every single program that we can access to rebuild our communities. Let's make sure we do our best to build institutions that will outlast us, to make sure that our history, our story cannot, will not ever be erased. Continue working on genealogy to let no one tell you who you are and let no one tell you who you are not. And at the end, let's make sure this voice, this life that we share on this rising does not go in vain. Let's choose as an honorable people to stand up and speak for ourselves, take on the responsibility of ourselves, write our history. So until we link back up to the next Rising Show, brothers and sisters, enjoy your weekend. Remember, we love you, and peace.
Peace, everybody. Do have another one though.
Chicka, chicka.
Go
Real quick,
ahead.
double cousin.
I ain't saying nothing.
There are only two lasting bequests we can hope to give our children. One of these is our roots, the other is wings. One generation plants the tree and the next gets the shade. If you don't know your history, then you don't know anything. You are a leaf that doesn't know it's part of a tree.
Bang,
That's
bang, bang.
it. Peace, everybody. Have a beautiful day.
And we go.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.